we have learned about slope, intercept form, y equals mx plus b. In this video, we're going to be learning a new form of a line for if you're given a point and the slope. It's called slope point form, point slope form. Let's dive in and take a look at what it looks like. So point slope form looks like this. It looks like y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, right? And so we've got some pieces that are the same and some pieces that are different. So the m is still the slope. That's not a surprise, probably. The x1, y1 are a point, hence the name point slope, right? So it's x1 comma y1 is a point on the line, right? Now, it's important to notice that these are minuses, right? There's minuses. And since those are minuses, that means that whatever is in the equation, to get the point out of that, you've got to flip the signs. Let's look at a couple of examples of using point slope and all of that. Let's do the thing with the other thing, right? So we're going to write an equation in point slope for the line that passes through 3, -2 with a slope of 1/4. And then we're going to graph the equation. So this is fairly straightforward. It's not really that big a deal. What we're going to do is we're going to remember what point slope is. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Right? And so then we're going to just substitute what we know. So we're going to substitute something in for y1. We're going to substitute something in for m and something in for x1. I'm just going to slot everything else into place here. There we go. So what are we going to slot in for, excuse me, for y1? Well, we're going to plug in the y point, the y part of the point. So minus 2. What are we going to plug in for m? We're going to plug in the slope, of course, because m is the slope. So we're going to put 1/4. And then what are we going to plug in for x1? Well, we're going to plug in the x part of the point. So we're going to put a 3 right there. Okay. So all we need to do now is check some signs, right? So we've got a little ka-chink right here. So we end up with y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x minus 3, right? So there is the equation of our line in point slope form. Then we're going to graph it. Now, we're going to graph it really similarly to the way we graph things from slope-intercept form, but instead of graphing from the intercept, we're going to graph from that point. So we're going to put a dot over here at that point. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, and then down 1, 2. And so we're putting a dot at this point right here, right? And then we're going to count the slope, but instead of counting from somewhere on the intercept, we're going to count from that point. So it's 1/4. So rise over run, right? So we're going to count up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4 and put a dot. Now, this time, last time I talked a lot about this. We can't really fit another point on here. So from our original point, we're going to flip both things. So instead of going up 1 over 4, we're going to go down 1 back 4. So down 1 back 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can put another couple in here just to make it easier to graph a decently long line. And then we're going to connect the dots, draw our arrows, and there it is. There's the graph of the line y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x minus 3, point slope form. Let's do another example. This time we won't worry about graphing it. We'll just write the equation. And blammo. Okay, so we're going to write an equation in point-slope form, slope-intercept form, and standard form for the line that passes through. That's kind of junky. Let's see if we can move that so you can see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, whoop. That passes through the point 5,1 with a slope of -2/3. So we're going to start with point slope, and it's going to be easy to start with point slope because we're given a point and the slope. So let's start with point slope. So this time, I'm just going to jump straight to flipping the sign. It works out especially easy since they're both positive, right? So y minus 1, the y part, right, equals m, which is -2/3, -2/3 times x minus the x part, which is 5. So there it is in point slope. We're already part of the way done. Now to get to the slope intercept, what do we need to do? Well, we first need to distribute this 2/3. So we're going to distribute that 2/3 on here. So, excuse me, y minus 1 equals, what's -2/3 times x? Well, it's -2/3 x, right? That's no big deal. -2/3 x. And then -2/3 times -5 is positive 10/3. Okay. You can do that by hand, whatever. I'm going to trust that you know how to multiply fractions at this point. It's Algebra 1, right? So the last thing we need to do in order to get it into slope-intercept form is we need to get rid of this -1. So to get rid of that -1, we would add 1 to both sides. We're going to add 1 here, and then it's going to combine with this 10/3, so plus 1. Or I'm going to even write it as 3/3. That makes it easier to do in my head, right? So y equals -2/3 x plus 13/3, which we could leave it there, or if we wanted to make it more graphable, we could also convert 13/3 into, so this would be y equals -2/3 x plus, that'd be 4 1/3. Right? So there it is in slope-intercept form, right? Easy peasy. Now what is standard form? Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So we've got the x and y term shoved over to one side, and then the c term all stuck all over by itself, and we want to get rid of fractions with that one. So I'm actually going to start with this one that's improper because it's going to be easier to get rid of the fractions that way. Okay, so to get rid of the fractions here, we're just going to multiply every term by the common denominator. How does that sound? That sounds not too bad, right? So what's the common denominator? Well, there's only one thing in the denominator, right? So we're going to multiply times 3. So we're going to distribute this 3 onto everything. And it works because we're doing it to both sides, right? So 3 times y is 3y. -2/3 times 3 is -2x. And 13/3 times 3 is 13. So we're going to bring this up over here, right? And so all we got to do is we have to add 2x to both sides, plus 2x, and then plus 2x over there. So our final answer in standard form is 2x plus 3y equals 13. There it is in point slope form, slope intercept form, and standard form. That's all of that. We have one or two lessons left, something. Yeah, one lesson left in this unit. And then we are going to be through with this unit, and then we're going to be ready for another test and all the things. Thanks for joining us. If you're one of my students, we'll see you in class and all those things. If you're not one of our students, check out emberlearninglabs.com for all the other things that we are doing. It would help if you give us a like and a subscribe, and let us know in the comments how else we can help you with your math and your science and your general homeschool stuff. Have a great and wonderful and powerful day. See you later.